2 games, and Peter Byers, who is their leading scorer in international play. Those will be the 2 men up front. Those will be the men that Clarence Goodson and Jeff Cameron will be trying to shut down. The bleached blonde locks of Quentin Griffith, and the rain is starting to spit down. It's not as windy as they first thought, and Marcelo, this is a stadium that is located maybe a few hundred yards away from the water, and on the north coast of a lot of these Caribbean islands, that's where the wicked weather comes from, and that could come in before this match is over.
It could. You can always play in the rain. It affects you a little bit, but wind really affects the flight of the ball, the way it moves, the way they strike it. So yeah, you can see right now the pitch looks pretty good. It looks pretty flat. And the important thing is it doesn't happen the monsoon that happened in the Guatemala game where there was standing water.
Something we have not talked about, but referees in the United States and World Cup qualifying normally do not go together too well. And Neil Brisson has had his share of run-ins, both with the U.S. and with some MLS sides. But to give the Trinidadian the credit, he has gotten a lot more consistent, a lot better in recent years. In fact, drawing many compliments. A 4-4-2 from the U.S. and you weren't surprised with the formation away from home, but you were surprised with Eddie Johnson on the left.
You know, I was surprised to see Eddie Johnson out on the left, but I also looked at it and said, you know what, you've got a guy who's got to prove himself, a guy who's willing to fight and scratch, and you can also transition real quickly from a 4-4-2 to a 4-3-3 as Eddie Johnson pushes up down the right-hand side. You can get Hercules down the left-hand side, and you can put Dempsey as the point guy. So I like the fact that you've got some speed coming out of the midfield and running at that back line.
Well, the other consideration, there are 4 players, were 5, but Fabian Johnson still not ready to play, hopefully by Kansas City and Guatemala, but there are 4 players today who could miss that final game if they get a yellow card here today. 79 degrees, cloudy skies, a bit of wind, and as you can see, the humidity sometimes coming down a bit greater than 87%. Bradley, Adu, Johnson, and Jones. We are underway and getting set for the start of this one. It is a huge match for Antigua. The pride on the line. They said there will be a party, Bena music and all, win, lose, or draw for the United States. I guess it comes back to that old Al Davis line, just win, baby. They're not out if they lose. They're not out if they tie, but the road gets a lot more difficult. And Marcelo, at least mathematically from Antigua, and math important in the opening minutes, they know they still have a chance, but they need to win out and hope Guatemala does the same.
Exactly. I mean, it's a far-fetched, it's still out there mathematically, but they know they're on the outside looking in. But this is the teams that are dangerous because they're playing that role of the spoiler. They're playing that role of, you need to beat us. You need to get the 3 points in order to make it easier against Guatemala. So I think the important thing is looking at the field right now. It doesn't look very wide. It looks like it's a pretty narrow pitch. So that's going to be interesting how the U.S. moves the ball quickly around and finds and exploits the holes.
Michael Bradley back after missing more than a month with a quadricep pull. There is that switch to Eddie Johnson. Headed in the wrong direction, but he is holding on to the ball, well, at least till he passed it. One back by Bradley. Johnson pushes it forward. Keep an eye on Hercules Gomez, but Dempsey can't find him. And they're taking a look at Quentin Griffith, a transitioned midfielder, but it is going to be Joseph and Thomas, and then George Blakely and Dublin. There's some center backs that are clogging up the middle on the back line and in the midfield for Antigua. Phil Shane alongside Marcelo Balboa, and glad you could join us. This the penultimate match in this round of qualifying. Dexter Blackstock, the Nottingham Forest forward, whistled for the foul over the back. As you're taking a look at the ball, not a lot of bumps, but it's the unexpected ones that can cost you. That whistle from the stands. Clarence Goodson is out there. And again, talking about the injuries, no Landon Donovan, no Fabian Johnson. Edgar Castillo playing well for Mexican leading Tijuana. Here's Eddie Johnson to the middle, but knocked aside. And they're even missing Breck Shea, who could have broken out in this match. And then Jermaine Jones came in nicked and also carrying a yellow card. So this is a makeshift lineup for Jurgen Klinsmann.
Well, it's not the typical lineup you want to see. You've got a Landon Donovan in there. You're missing a Brett Shea. So you are missing a few key players. But if you go back to the Jamaica game, they were missing 4 key players on the road. And that's Bocanegra, they're missing Chirundolo, they were missing Landon, they're missing Bradley. Well, you've got 3 of the 4 back, so you've got a solid core. You've got Dempsey now compared to the Jamaica game. He's fit, he's been playing with Tottenham. So this is a team that really is just missing a piece or two, but this team is deep enough and strong enough that it has good, and you can see the way the young players are developing and the players that Jurgen's finding, that it has enough depth to get the job done.
You see Chirundolo, that's a huge addition. I don't think people appreciated him until he was gone. 4th minute, ball over to the near side and the mayor of Hanover. By the way, first time these two teams met, they were having problems with left back as well. In fact, Jose Francisco Torres had to go back out to the defensive spot. I think Torres would even admit Bocanegra might be a bit better choice.
Well, you know, you look out throughout the history of U.S. soccer over the last 10 to 12 years of stay, always looking for that left back. Never found a consistent back from Paul Caligiuri. It went to Fernando Clavijo. It went to Jeff Agus, but never really found that consistent left back, and that's always been a weakness in U.S. soccer.
Ball pulled back by Tamarly Thomas, almost intercepted, and now good teamwork. Danny Williams really came into his own, along with Graham Zusi in the match in Columbus, and both of them in the starting lineup today. Ball forward for Gomez. He's turned into a favorite for Jurgen Klinsmann, but can't keep that one in. Again, Chirundolo, Goodson, Cameron, and Bocanegra. Howard in goal, his 82nd appearance, tying Brad Friedel, 3rd all-time in U.S. goalkeepers. And Williams, there was some thought, especially with Jermaine Jones there, that Williams might be pushed back out to the right, but he has not had success there compared to how much he shined in Columbus. Long ball forward, trying to bring it down. Zusi, and just running out of a bit of real estate.
It's a small field. Just look from the end line. Look at the end line to where the 18-yard box is. It's a small field. I'm guessing it's done on purpose. The U.S., they know that the U.S. can spread them out with their pace, and they can get in behind. They make the field smaller. There's not a lot of room but to go over the top right now.
Well, they've done it in all of those contests. In fact, almost beat Guatemala, but for a Carlos Ruiz goal that was brilliant, but also might have been offside.
Yeah.
So they almost got a point out of it, but it is 70 by 110, and U.S. Soccer did pull out the tape measure, so it is the minimum allowed. Tom Curtis, the Antigua coach, not disguising it, says we want to try and keep it tight. They have the speed, but they don't want to let the width off to the near side. Chirundolo. Now, of those players that are missing, Donovan and Shea and Johnson and Castillo, which one do you think is the player that they would like to have the most here today?
All of them. No, I think the bottom line is you need Landon Donovan. He's a guy that creates. He's got good pace. And even if he's not on his game, he's a guy that demands attention, and he'll always draw a player too, and that leaves somebody else open. So to me, I mean, they're all great players, and you respect what they've done on the pitch. But to me, I think Landon is the guy that you really is a game changer.
Ball from Williams. Now laid off to Bradley. He is matured into that box-to-box role and even done pretty well in the opposing box. If you saw Roma's game this past weekend, almost shades of Landon Donovan, but it wasn't a blast caressing it past the keeper. And there you can see the composure. However, the delivery buried away. There was some thought that there would be a problem when Klinsmann took over from Michael Bradley's father, but he didn't call him at the beginning. Ball in for Zusi, battling for it. Hercules offside. Didn't call him in the beginning, and I think that was just a chance to get Michael Bradley an opportunity to get his head together. But since he's called him in, he's basically built this team around him.
No, you know, I think the transition of a father-son coach, there is there is going to be some bitterness of your dad being fired. But I gotta be honest with you, Phil, I was the same guy. I thought under his dad it was okay. I think he's a much better player now, playing for somebody else, playing for Jurgen. And you're right, you know, Landon, this is Landon's team, but it's slowly turning into Michael Bradley, the way he's dominating, controlling that midfield and leading this team by example.
In Spanish, they call it tres dedos, caressing the ball out wide for Eddie Johnson with the outside of his boot. And in case you're thinking we're blowing smoke how good he's become, ball stripped away from Clint Dempsey. There are some rumors that Daniele De Rossi, the hero for Italy today, might be on his way out of Roma. Far side, Eddie Johnson. Quentin Griffith trying to shut him down. Plays it back. Williams in support. Johnson, the cross, just skims over the head of Hercules Gomez. Who got the touch? It'll be a corner for the U.S. Good look at Jurgen Klinsmann. And the one thing that we have to admit, and he said that it's disappointing it's gotten to this point, but he realizes the long-term goals he's brought in, you still need those short-term accomplishments. And this would be one of them. From the corner. Back post 6 cleared away. Little miscommunication. Finally, Thomas tries to take it out, but Bradley got there first. Cherundolo. Zusi back to the Hanover defender. By the way, if the United States does get to the hexagonal, and they are still favored to do so even if they do face 2 crucial games, he's keeping an eye on what's been going on in Marbella this week with Tab Ramos. They do have under 20 championships, the Gold Cup coming up, and he said he's going to have to build 2 teams next year. Might be a lot of new faces.
Well, that's the beauty of Major League Soccer. You've got a lot of players. You've got a lot of examples out there from Brett Shea that made it. So, I mean, bottom line, it's not about playing great soccer right now. It's about getting results. Getting into the World Cup, that's when you play your best soccer. That's when you got to build. We've seen teams, if you want to go back to the '94 qualifying, remember Colombia, they ran through everybody. They got to the World Cup and they stumbled. So bottom line is right now you're building. The important thing is getting to the next round, get into the World Cup, and then you start looking at the player, you start building a little more.
Throw in from the flank by the Motherwell-based 19-year-old Zane Francis Angol. It'll be a goal kick for Melvin James, 23 years of age, another one of the USL Pro players from the Antigua Barbudas. In fact, this team built around that USL Pro side. Not a bad idea.
12 out of the 18 play for the Barracudas. So yeah, you know, it's the more you play together, the more you get to know each other. And if you want to look at example how they've got this far, that's a big piece of the pie. You play every day, you practice every day, you get to know, you sprinkle in your other 5 or 6 international players. So yeah, and that's why Antigua's gotten this far.
Just inside the center circle again at 110. This would be only about 45 yards from goal. Joseph into the 6, headed across. Cameron clears, not far though, and George Blakely sending it wide. The Leicester-born midfielder couldn't turn it towards goal. Again, think about it. From the edge of the center circle, you're what, less than 40 yards away from the 6-yard box. It gets there quick. Of course, in many ways, this is just a little greener than the Portland Timbers right now. So at least the MLS-based players should be used to it.
Well, the beauty is you always want to shoot. You're not that far. Once you pass midline, you're really on that stride where you can hit. So the important for the U.S. is you're going to try to work the outsides, but there's no room. So eventually you're going to start seeing balls being floated in. So the important thing for the U.S. is take some long-distance shots, too.
Well, that's one reason he said he brought in Sasha Kleshten. And you listen to Klinsmann talk, you can sense it's not disappointment. It's not even frustration. It's just, when are they going to get it? You hear him talk about Altidore. You hear him talk about Kleshten. Take those shots. We've seen you do it in Anderlecht. Do it here.
Problem is we all can't play like Barcelona. We can't get inside the 6-yard box like they can. You know, there's not a lot of teams in the world that can play like Spain or Argentina. So the U.S.'s strength has always been in the air, defensively, and power. So they've got guys that can rip shots from 20, 30 yards. Now it's just a confidence of pulling the trigger.
Cherundolo off to the near side. Antigua, when they don't have the ball, backing up, pretty much leaving Pete Byers as the lone man up front. Blasted forward, parried by Thomas, and won back by Bradley. Johnson is playing disciplined on that left flank, although he is pushed up higher than the midfield, so almost a 4-2-4 here. Cherundolo wide. Goodson. Cameron with a nice touch. We talk about left backs in Bocanegra. We're talking about a guy who played top flight in France at that left back position and did pretty well.
Yep. Well, we talked about consistency down the left-hand side, and we haven't seen it with injuries and stuff. And you got to give a lot of credit. Jeff Cameron has come out of nowhere to really become a mainstay and has played well the games he's played. Clarence Goodson is a good, strong center back. They get along, they communicate well, and the key to me to this whole back line is a veteran of Cherundolo. He's the one that's really, you can see, organized. And now you've got 2 veterans on the outside with 2 young kids in the middle. That's a pretty good combination.
Good hustle by Williams, and he draws the foul as he is hit. And the one thing I think we're starting to see, for as good as Bocanegra is, you are missing that push from Fabian Johnson.
Yeah. Yep.
And could you imagine with Eddie Johnson and Fabian Johnson, there'd probably be a patch of grass burnt out down that left flank. Well, good possession, but it all comes down to goals. Quarter hour in the books, and for Antigua, that's a check mark. Crossed inside, headed away by Quentin Griffith, back over his head for the corner. 18, 11, and 11 for the U.S. against the island nations of the Concacaf region. Haiti, surprisingly, the toughest opponent, actually a winning record against the U.S. This is only the 2nd game against Antigua. Whipped inside the 6, glancing header, but unable to turn it towards goal was Goodson. And you could see Mulvin James having a chat with Griffith, not happy with the defense.
Well, he told him to stay on the post. You can clearly see when he went to the post, you're supposed to be on the post. Don't step off the post until the play is done. And James has a good point. Until that ball is cleared, you do not leave that post.
Somewhere in Boston, Mike Burns just put his head in his hands. We're kidding, we care. Sometimes it takes a hard lesson. Loss against Guatemala by the narrowest of margins on the 26th minute goal by Pescadito. beInSport.tv. Check us out online. Plenty of action, both on beIN Sport and beIN Sport in Espanol. Ball takes a spin. Goodson takes advantage. The Brumby man blasts it upfield, skips away. A little dangerous, and then launched back forward. Knocked down by Byers in the area, looking for a call, but Brisson didn't see enough. Blackstock still down, grabbing his calf. But Brisson will finally blow the whistle. We talked about this before the match, but give me an idea, if we could, as they tend to the Forest attacker. The United States has played in cricket grounds 3 times and only come away with, I guess we could call it a 1-run or 1-wicket victory on those 3 occasions. Is it depth perception? Is it just the field being so isolated in the middle? What's the hardest part about playing on a cricket oval?
You know, I think on this field right here, we talk about size. That's always hard. The U.S. likes to open the teams up and spread the game out wide. Most of the times that we've played, be it in Trinidad on a cricket field, the field was almost 78 yards wide, 120. So you can get spread out pretty wide there, and teams can attack you, and especially when they can exploit you with their pace. And to be honest, back in the old days, Alexi and myself were not the fastest guys in the world, so they could get in behind. Fernando was the fastest guy, so I think that's a problem when you play on a cricket ground, the consistency of how big of a field it is. Teams can spread you out pretty wide.
But for an oval compared to just the standard box,
you still don't feel,
diagonals.
Yeah, you know what it is? You don't feel like the fans are on top of you. It's not like when you go to Columbus, or you went the other day, you go to Salt Lake City, you go to somewhere like that where the fans are around. The fans are pushed really wide. It's an oval. You can see how far the fans are. It's tough to get a gauge of the fans and that energy from the fans.
Tom Curtis, the 39-year-old out of Exeter, former midfielder at Chesterfield and Mansfield in his playing days. And some thought that he might be let go, but Everton Gonçalves and Nando Abraham said no, he's still here. One young coach at 39 learning some valuable lessons. And they've been getting better as the qualification progressed.
Well, listen, the goal that Carlos Ruiz scored was a bomb from 30-35 yards. So, and if you go back to the Guatemala game, they really were the better team up until James got taken out of the game with the silly red card for wasting time. Now all of a sudden, Antigua Barbuda went downhill with that. So, silly mistakes.
Chirundolo, Bradley, nice. Johnson on the right wing, keeps it inside, and then it pops up. And there, the bumpy pitch saves Antigua. It'll be a corner, but it could have been so much more.
Now, he made a nice cut. You can see him down the right hand. So this little chip inside. You're thinking he was looking to shoot. It looked like he was trying to cut it back to Hercules Gomez from there with the back heel. He just couldn't get it.
Maybe trying to bring it under control for the pass rather than just whack it in the middle. Third corner as we approach the 20th minute. Almost seemed like he got a toe to it. Gets it on the rebound. Zusi. Top of the box, Bradley. He can shoot from there. Lays it off. Zusi. Good spinner. Johnson down. Goal! Goal! Eddie Johnson pays back Klinsmann in spades.
Everything you want. Ball plays back. Look at Eddie Johnson. He waits. He times it just like he does in Seattle. He gets up. Smart thing. He hits it down. Skips it off the ground. Puts the United States up 1-0. 20 minutes in. But the timing of that play, calm, composure, gets the ball across, and absolutely fantastic timing from Eddie Johnson. Snapping that ball down right past James, putting the United States up 1-0.
Eddie Johnson, 14 goals. My count is correct, 10 of them in the air for Seattle. And he just gets back on the board here. His 13th goal in his 43rd appearance. And the question that's going to be asked, is that a run that Josie would have made? And it seems simple.
You can answer that question.
It seems simple. But it was the determination to make those runs that put Eddie Johnson in the U.S. uniform.
Well, it's that hunger, I think. If you watch him this year in MLS, he's played better than I've seen him play in a long time. That eagerness, that hunger to succeed and to prove people wrong, I think, of what's happened over the last few years. So, again, the only person that's ever hurt Eddie Johnson was Eddie Johnson. Because we've all seen he's got great pace, good ball skills. It's always been that lack of motivation to play. And I think now he's gotten it back. The fact that he's played well with Seattle and Jurgen Klinsmann brought him into the national team shows that the hard work pays off.
Well, U.S. on the board. Good cross from Zusi. So a couple of players that were on the outs a couple of games ago combining for a rather huge goal.
And I like Grant Zusi. I think what he does,
playmaker.
Yeah, you know what, even though he does it from the right-hand side, his composure on the ball and how relaxed and the way he sees the field is something that we don't have a lot of U.S. players that have that ability. So they've done a nice job with Sporting Kansas City.
And again, one of those situations. Klinsmann talked about Zusi, talked about Hercules as they pass each other at the edge of the 6 and at the edge of the 18, saying they fought for the opportunity and they seized it when they got it. Hercules at this point almost have to pry him out of the starting lineup with a crowbar. Zusi from the far flag. This will swing in on the 23-year-old James, leaning towards the near post. And you see Bocanegra, some sympathy from the ref. And now a chance for the break. Here come the Bena boys. Flying forward, Byers had some help, waits down the line. And it skips underneath the 27-year-old. Could not keep it in play. U.S. got a break there.
They got very fortunate right there. They've had a few guys breaking out from Barbuda. It's just gone. You see the ball bounce up. He couldn't control it. Very fortunate for the United States.
Well, they scored 35 seconds in against Jamaica. Fastest goal in qualifying by Clint Dempsey, breaking his own record. And then promptly gave up 2 goals before the 90 minutes were up off free kicks. So I kind of have a feeling that's been something Klinsmann's worked on. When you take the lead, don't lay back. Dempsey threaded, but the angle wasn't there. Good defense from Griffith. And now starting a break coming down the right wing. 13th appearance for the Barracuda right back. Blackstock dances around Bradley, who rakes across his ankles and gets called for the foul. U.S. with a nose in front. Can they keep it there? For those of you watching us, don't forget Bolivia, Peru on beIN Sport and Espanol. Loaded with World Cup qualifying today. 25th minute, Howard under pressure. Heading it the wrong way though. Good settle, Gomez. Zusi on the left flank. Well, you were part of it, but was it 1986? Last time the U.S. did not qualify for a World Cup. 6 of the players called up by Klinsmann weren't even born then. Fighting through, tucked in the middle. Blackstock, we're tied! Strong run down the flank. Dexter Blackstock takes the pass from Byers, and we are now tied at 1. Only the 3rd goal Antigua has scored this round. And the Bena music now hitting the U.S. players like a brick.
Wow, good build-up down the right side. You can see the pace. He gets right in behind Cameron Egan's, and Clarence Goodson goes down and slips, and Blackstock is right there by himself. 2 guys go stumbling down. Great job fighting him off. Clarence Goodson slips, but look at the move right here. He gets in behind. He tucks the ball in behind. Byers does a great job. And Blackstock right there sitting inside the 6 as Goodson slips to tie the game at 1-1.
Leading scorer in Antigua history, playing setup man. Might remember him from Montreal or the LA Blues. Byers also a handful in the first meeting in Tampa, but it's Blackstock with his first national team goal in just his 3rd appearance. Well, this changes things quite a bit. Just when we said that Klinsmann had been pressuring not to soften when you score the goal, they go down that questionable left flank, and the questionable center backs just leave Howard wide open.
Well, ball gets played into the 6. He splits the defense. Byers does a nice job. He fights off Cameron. He gets to the byline. He crosses it back, and as he's crossing it back, Clarence Goodson slips. He's already on the floor. He can't mark Blackstock, and what's Blackstock do? Nice and easy, just tucks it in the back of the net.
There, Cameron stepping up, still transitioning to the back line. So much to learn. Good play by Byers, and now Antigua could be on the verge of a victory. They have the lead Oh, they have the tie now. A little bit of momentum crossed inside. That one will carry, and a goal kick for Howard. Blackstock doing a lot of hard work trying to hold that ball. Saw him at Forest. You might have as well on beIN Sport. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but starting to pick up pace. Now, if you're Klinsmann, if you're wearing the blue today, get composure, get possession, or try and pick up the pace a bit.
You know, I think you got to do what you've been doing. You've had control of the game. You made a mistake. You let Antigua back into the game. You made 2 slips there. But you got to keep what you were doing. You were being successful. You're getting down the line. Now it's just moving the ball a little faster. It seems like it's kind of died a little bit. They took the lead again, and we saw them back off the pedal just like they've done now. And now Antigua Barbuda is back into the game. So it's important for the U.S. to keep possession, knock it around, and be patient. You're going to find the gaps. You still got a long way to go in this game.
Into the middle for Bradley. Tries to get around George Blakely. Now wide, but offside the call. They've switched. Zusi heading over on one side. Johnson on the other. Offside against the U.S. The high point in Antigua's footballing career back in '98, where they finished 4th in the Caribbean Cup. They can get a victory here. I think that would take over the top spot. Nice ball, Blackstock into the middle for Byers, looking to return the favor. Collision far side, and Antigua will get the throw. You hear the Antigua faithful out there as the rain continuing to spit down. Also got over 1,000 tourists from the States to come down. Of course, if you have the money, you have the time. There's a lot worse places to watch a soccer game than Antigua. Half hour cleared away, but Bocanegra sends it right back to sender. Cameron sends it out only as far as Griffith. And a few question marks on the defense for the red, white, and blue. Finally, Howard with a chance to take the heat off. By the way, this is not the best that Antigua and Barbuda could put out there. They're missing Roger Christian, Lawson Robinson. Byers was a question mark, and Nicola Ledgerwood, the player that put Reading back in the top flight in England, also unavailable. So we talked a bit about the Caribbean and Central America taking advantage of MLS to build some depth. Chance here for Blackstock. Howard comes out and gets a fortunate bounce. Nice try by Blackstock, and he almost got it through.
Well, and that's the one thing we talked about earlier in the Express and in the pregame. We talked about the pace of Blackstock. We talked about the pace of Byers. That could be a problem. We saw it in the Jamaica game against the United States, that they had a lot of pace, and the U.S. struggled with that. Again tonight, you're already seeing the pace of the 2 center forwards, and the U.S. has been struggling with it. We saw the way the goal came, that quick step, how he got in behind Cameron. He crossed the ball, so that is always a concern for the U.S. is the speed of the Caribbean teams.
One thing we've been wondering about, Clint Dempsey's role here today, especially with a lot of those other players missing. Pretty much invisible through the opening 30 minutes. Crossed inside, maybe not here, but the header flashes wide. Johnson had it set to a T, but couldn't find the frame. Good cross again, though.
Wow, smart play. You saw what Bradley did. Everybody went to the far post. Zusi makes a great run. Look at this turn in the cross. Not a look. He knows where to put this ball. Here comes Eddie Johnson. Just can't guide it on target, but had a great look, great run. Should have done better with that one.
Still, he's getting open. 2 shots in his first 30 minutes. Considering Josie had 4 in the last 12 games. But it will mean naught if the U.S. doesn't come away with a win. And again, Klinsmann stressing that he sees Altidore back on this U.S. roster. He sees the potential, sees the talent, sees the success he's having.
Yep.
He just wants the commitment and the effort.
You know, I think we all know what Josie Altidore can do. He's got great pace. We know what he can do for his club team. We know the kind of player he can be here with the national team. But then again, as a coach, sometimes you got to have a wake-up call.
Williams, one touch too many. Falls for Bradley, long-range shot. Just whistles wide of the post. As you said, turn around in the center circle. You're just outside the 18.
Well, you've also got the wind behind your back a little bit. It's already going in that direction. To me, you got to test James. We haven't seen a lot. Everything's been inside the 18 over the games that I've seen. You got to test him. You got to hit some from distance. And then you got to have forwards who are up there. And we have that in a Hercules Gomez and in a Dempsey that really will be optimistic and get in there and look for that rebound.
By the way, on that last play, you saw Dempsey dropping back into the midfield and Johnson pinching inside alongside Gomez. So much versatility out there for Klinsmann in the U.S. They still need to find the net one more time. Chance through the middle. Thomas rolls it harmlessly wide. Only about 82,000 people live on the islands of Antigua and Barbuda. I think if the rain had held off, they were expecting 10,000 here today. I think that would become the largest city. Off to the near side. Zusi again. Francis Angol coming over. Zusi the drop. Chirundolo with his left. Crosses it in. Headed, but wide. Out comes James, and he looks hurt. Akeem Thomas got the area cleared, but James is down. Now, with Mulvin James, from what we've seen in qualifying, he might be milking this a bit. There you see a little collision. Was that Dempsey from behind?
That was Dempsey, but not really anything. Well, we saw it in the Guatemala game.
Yeah.
We saw it in the Guatemala game. He didn't really get touched. He laid there and he laid there and he laid there. And again, I didn't see him get hit in the front where they're reaching for him. So at this point, his teammates are getting water. They're resting. They're getting back in. So I didn't see too much there when James came out.
On the way back in 2000, U.S. was also in a similar situation. In fact, needed a victory in their final match in the semifinal round to beat out Costa Rica and Guatemala to get to their heroic run in 2002. That game in Barbados. They didn't play it on the cricket oval, though. As we take another look, maybe as he lands a bit. But
yeah, you saw Dempsey's elbow right into his ribs a little bit.
Went over an hour scoreless. Did that game on radio. In fact, Barbados could have taken the lead a couple of times in the first half, but ended up a 4-0 victory. Cleared away. And then the U.S. making its run to the quarters, almost to the semis, but for Torsten Frings. By the way, in many ways, that's what Klinsmann's been talking about, intentional or otherwise. You got to do what it takes to get the victory. And he hasn't seen it from the U.S. Nice hustle from Zusi, and he draws the foul. 19-year-old Zane Francis doesn't quite agree.
Let's take a look. Ball bounces up. Let's watch the hand. Oh, yeah, look at that. Right around the neck. He's pushing him back, doesn't allow him to get to the ball. Yep.
Antigua at the office in Kingston in their next match. Of course, the U.S. at Livestrong Sporting Park in Kansas City. Glorious field conditions promised there. Just outside the 18. Bradley finding the right blade of grass this time. Lofts it, headed clear by Griffith, headed back towards the 6. This time it's Dublin, and the rain starting to pour down, obscuring a bit of vision. On the turn, Eddie Johnson tries to get past Thomas, deflected, and Mulvin James brings it in.
Now, let me say, along with a beautiful Sporting Goods Park there and all that, or Sporting Kansas City's Livestrong Park, it's going to be cold. I left Colorado and it was cold, so expect some cold weather.
Could be, and of course, still remember some of those games up at Foxborough. It won't be quite that cold, we hope.
No.
By the way, as you can see with the rain pouring in, it's also getting even breezier, downright gusty. And from a U.S. perspective, that's 8 minutes left to take advantage of it and 45 minutes to fear it. Might want to try and get a long shot or two off before this half is up. Nice caress by Williams, but this one intercepted. Goodson jumps in front. Might not be the fastest, but I think those legs give him a few extra yards.
Oh yeah, a lot of yards. I gotta say, you're looking at a U.S. team this first half. Really hasn't pushed the pace too much. They really just kind of kept possession. They've kind of built nice and slow. We haven't seen them really.
Should they have been?
I think they should have.
Nice ball, Chirundolo. Bradley wasn't sure where it was. Francis Angle sends it back. Now the rain has just disappeared. As you can see, we are opposite the Tribune side. Chance on the run. Gomez won't give up, but the flag comes up. The junior assistant, Yonit Borgiano from the Cayman Islands, saw something. And Gomez is one of those forwards that will try and dance on that line if he can. Done pretty well at Santos doing that. James. 13th appearance for the keeper. Chirundolo. His 86th. Good job, Dempsey holding off. Wide, Zusi. Gomez makes the move. Right foot blast, almost sneaks in. The lunging tackle from Thomas sends it wide. Griffith hauls it in and launches back to midfield. Good cutoff by Bocanegra. Williams, Dempsey as he's falling. Bradley spins it wide. That was close. Good build-up from the back.
Quick build-up, though. The ball in, the ball around. Look at the 1-2, how quick this gets. He gets a great shot off, just hits the post to the outside. But there it was. They pushed it. They were quick. 2 balls in, ball out, a touch and a shot. Beats 9 players. To me, that's what they've been missing. It's been a great build-up. It's been just a little slow for me.
And Dempsey doing what Dempsey does. 40th minute. Just over 5 minutes left in this opening half in regulation. Seen some movement, seen some variation, but as you pointed out, not a lot has faced Mulvin James. Off the chest, Byers. George Blakely on the turn. Blasts it, and a nice grab with the sure hands by Howard.
You can see from distance, 25, Tim Howard's right there. Burton comes in with his left foot, but Tim Howard, no problem, no rebound, nice and easy.
Both goals coming around the midway point. Johnson off the header from the Zusi cross. And then Blackstock there to tap home Byers' pass to the center. Chance for Randolph Burton. Blasted forward, looking for Byers. And the wind getting a hold of that one. By the way, the goal, only the 12th time, or 12th goal, no, 12th game that Howard has been scored upon in World Cup qualifying. Blackstock looking for an extra gear. Leaning in was Chirundolo, but not enough, says Neil Brisson. By the way, it's plays like that that have gone against the U.S. in the past. They've gotten a fair call from Brisson. Some for Antigua might actually say too fair.
Wow, great ball in, but go back to that play. Chirundolo coming in from the outside, coming in just in time, tackling, supporting him and Goodson, closing that gap down. That was very well done, because if not, he's in behind Goodson, he's gone.
Cameron, smart play, bangs it off of Byers for the throw.
See what I mean? Right there. Chirundolo does a nice job. He's already past Goodson. Chirundolo from the outside reads it, anticipates that ball, does the job as the outside back. He comes in and supports, covers, and wins that ball.
First match in Tampa in the torrential rain. Much worse conditions than this, at least from a weather perspective. Nice tackle. Zusi dispossessed. Sliding across was Thomas to take him out. In that game, U.S. scored first again. In fact, Dempsey scored just before the half, but Byers scored in that match to cut the lead midway through the second. Hercules Gomez, the hero, to put it away late. Cherundolo just couldn't get under it. Maybe a little bouncer, just a missed hit.
If you remember that play too, it's Landon Donovan screaming down the left-hand side, and I believe it was McCoy at the time took Landon out for the PK.
By the way, that Bocanegra goal, symbolic. His 13th, which tied him with a certain Marcelo Balboa as the top scoring defender in U.S. soccer history. So you still got that going for you.
That's old, man. That just says that I'm old. That's all.
Throw in for Boca. In for Williams, who's not had quite the effect, but there you see the skill. He's been forced wide in his early part of his U.S. career, but last game in Columbus got to play that center midfield spot he's been begging for. Here's Bradley. Dempsey. Herc back for Dempsey. Through for Bradley. Following it up is Deuce off to the near side. And then surrenders it. Looked like he thought Cherundolo would be higher. Dempsey tried to shepherd that away. Instead, Francis Angol pushing forward. The Scottish-based defender passes it off. Burton to the center. And now one back by the U.S. Approaching the final minute of regulation of half number one. And again, if this wind continues to pick up, that's going to be a big problem for Howard in the second half. In for Dempsey. Cherundolo makes the move. Johnson in the midfield. U.S. not content, but looks like they're looking for the perfect opening. Bradley off for Johnson. Cherundolo saves the day and wins the throw. There was the bit of an injury to Mulvin James, which could add a couple of minutes to this first half if Brazan was counting. And Guatemala and the U.S., as Johnson thought he'd have help, tied for the top spot. Identical marks, even down to differential in goals scored. Jamaica even on points, but just one goal differential, and Jamaica will try and take advantage of their match against Guatemala later. As you see, just 1 minute added. That's, I think it's just 1 minute, according to the PA. Little frugal from Neil Brisson. Leaning in with the shoulder was Goodson. Quickly restarted about 10 yards off the mark, but taking advantage. Crossed was Dublin, the captain. Back to the near side. St. Francis Angol to Burton. George Blakely wide. Griffith. Antigua wants to get a shot here. Back comes Zusi. Griffith in the area, deflected wide. Blackstock almost had his second, but knocked out for the corner. Might want to hurry if they take it. U.S. appears a bit rattled here. Got those old 1970 shorts, Quentin Griffith. Driven nicely towards the spot, but no one was there. And Neil Brisson will put the first half in the books. But will it be pleasant reading at the half for Jurgen Klinsmann?
You know, I go back and I say, I think the ball's got to move a little quicker for the U.S. When they moved it quick, Bradley got a great shot off and hit the post. So for me, the ball movement's got to be faster.
1-1 the score. 20th for Johnson, 25th for Blackstock. We're all level in the penultimate World Cup